Welcome to This Explainer, where we are going to completely demystify one of the most notoriously challenging hair-pulling areas of the Cambridge AS and A-level computer science syllabus. If you're studying for syllabus 9618, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Translating massive walls of structured English into logical, perfectly working flowcharts is a hurdle that literally trips up thousands of candidates every single year. But today, we're going to change all of that. We're going to use what I like to call the cricket captain strategy. Think about it. A great cricket captain has to set their field, read the bowler, and score their runs. In our case, setting the field is preparing your analytical framework, reading the bowler is decoding exactly what the examiner wants, and scoring runs is racking up those method marks. To show you how this works, I want you to imagine two typical students we see all the time. Let's call them Alex and Sam. When they look at a real Cambridge past paper question, Alex just overloads the page with raw computer science facts, tons of technical jargon, but absolutely no analytical structure. And Sam just rushes in, completely misses the command word requirements, and starts drawing shapes, hoping for the best. By the end of this explainer, you are going to see exactly how to avoid their mistakes. You won't just be drawing shapes on a page, you'll be engineering a structured, bulletproof analytical response.
So let's address the elephant in the room. The exact question examiners highlight when students like Alex and Sam struggle with translating structured English into flowcharts. Why is this so incredibly hard? Well, whether you're coming from IGCSE or O-level backgrounds like syllabus 0417, 0478, 0983, 0984, or 2210, you've been taught the basics. But the 9618 syllabus emphasizes that top-performing students must exhibit a connected, conceptual understanding that is fully transferable to completely unfamiliar contexts. In the pressure cooker of an exam room, when you are faced with a weird, complex scenario you have never seen before, it is incredibly easy to panic. You lose that conceptual thread. Sam rushes because of that panic, and Alex word vomits facts because of that panic. You aren't just being asked to regurgitate a memorized flowchart, you are being asked to interpret a totally unique problem and logically map out its solution. That requires a completely different cognitive muscle. It's like a giant puzzle, and you have to be the one to put the pieces together in real time.
Here is our roadmap for conquering this topic today, moving from the core problem all the way to those insider examiner secrets.
Let's jump right into Section 1 and figure out why this specific assessment objective is such a massive roadblock.
Now, what's really interesting here is that realizing you aren't alone in finding this hard is actually your first step to mastering it. The principal examiner reports consistently flag this as a highly misunderstood area. Candidates like Sam approach structured English as if they are simply doing a word-for-word translation into boxes and arrows, but examiners are looking for something much deeper. They want logical, structured reasoning. Before we continue, subscribe to our YouTube channel Ace the Exams at acetheexams_IGCS to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon right now. All right, back to it. When you recognize that this is a widespread global challenge, you can stop feeling frustrated and start treating it strategically. We are going to decode those command words and build a framework that works every single time.
Moving on to Section 2. To fix this disconnect, we absolutely must understand the foundational theoretical architecture that examiners demand.
This right here brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between average answers and top-tier answers. It's superficial breadth versus analytical depth. Average answers just loosely map ideas. Top-tier answers rely on precise definitions and structured reasoning. This is where we introduce the Peel framework: point, evidence, explanation, link. When top students structure their computer science answers, they don't just guess. They make a point about the logic, provide evidence from the structured English, give an explanation of the data manipulation, and link it back to the required output. The assessment framework explicitly prioritizes this kind of analytical depth. What does that mean for you? It means rather than trying to quickly sketch out a broad, sweeping flowchart that touches on everything but explains nothing, which is exactly what Alex does, you need to slow down. Your theoretical architecture needs to rest on clear, causal relationships. Show the examiner exactly how one variable changes the next step in the algorithm.
This quote is a real game changer. Candidates referencing cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. The crucial point is that integrating this topic with other syllabus areas, rather than treating flowcharts in isolation, is the absolute key to unlocking those higher grade boundaries. When you draw a flowchart, you aren't just operating in a vacuum. You are actively applying your knowledge of data structures, your understanding of binary representations, and your firm grasp of algorithmic logic. When your flowchart demonstrates this holistic, cross-topic understanding, the examiner notices. Your marks will immediately reflect that elevated level of comprehension. You're proving you understand the whole shebang, not just the basic shapes.
Knowing the theory is fantastic, but let's translate that into a concrete sequence of actions for the exam room in Section 3. Stop scrolling. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Ace the Exams, at Ace the Exams IGCSE to excel in your Cambridge examinations. We've helped thousands of students improve by 2-3 grade boundaries. Join them right now by subscribing to @Ace the Exams IGCSE and turn on all notifications so you never miss our weekly exam strategy sessions. Okay, let's dive into this step-by-step breakdown. When you see a massive block of structured English, do not, I repeat, do not start drawing immediately. First, deconstruct the question to decode the command words. Second, extract the relevant data and select your framework. Third, execute the analysis with clear, documented working. Fourth, verify your results. And fifth, present it correctly using standard symbols. This standardized sequence is your ultimate safety net. It dramatically reduces your cognitive load and stops that panic dead in its tracks.
Now, algorithmic thinking isn't just a vague buzzword. It rests on these precise essentials. And this brings us to the first part of our interactive workshop today. I want you to look at these essentials and imagine a complex computer science data source in front of you. I'm putting a 60-second timer on the clock in our minds. Challenge 1 is the data scan. Can you extract the core trend from a dense paragraph? These elements ensure you are actively interpreting the data and performing calculations rather than just passively reading the text like Sam does. You absolutely must decompose the structured English, step by step. You have to select the appropriate data structures. Your design has to lead to efficient implementation, and it must allow for rigorous testing. By keeping these 4 pillars in mind, you transform from a passive reader into an active, strategic algorithmic designer.
Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds into the higher-order assessment objectives that demand you actually evaluate the algorithms.
Welcome to Challenge 2 of our interactive workshop, Find the Flaw. I want you to think about a flawed sample computer science paragraph that completely ignores edge cases. Spotting that flaw is exactly what examiners want you to do. When you evaluate an algorithm, examiners are looking for specific criteria. They want to see you analyzing its time complexity. How long is this going to take to run as the data scales up? They want you to consider space complexity. How much memory does this bad boy demand? And crucially, absolutely crucial, they are looking for your assessment of boundary conditions and edge cases. What happens when the input is 0? What happens when it hits the absolute maximum limit? Testing these extremes is the true hallmark of critical analysis. If you aren't doing this, you are leaving major points on the table.
So the crucial point here is that your flowchart isn't just a simple drawing, it's a justified recommendation that must acknowledge its own operational limitations. Let's hit Challenge 3, speed writing. Imagine you have a 30-second timer right now to write one perfect Peel paragraph evaluating an algorithm. Top-scoring candidates don't pretend their solution is flawlessly perfect in every scenario. They demonstrate evaluative thinking. They acknowledge the trade-offs. Maybe your flowchart is incredibly fast, but hey, it requires way more memory. Stating that trade-off shows real comparative analysis. When you use those comparative connectives to highlight the similarities and differences between your approach and alternative methods, you are speaking the exact language the examiners are desperate to reward.
Finally, let's turn to Section 5, the Ultimate Strategy Guide, featuring direct warnings extracted right from the Principal Examiner reports.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that these are the exact specific pitfalls costing students marks year after year. This is the ultimate computer science success blueprint, showing you exactly what not to do. Mistake number 1, answers that are just too vague. Examiners do not want generalities. They want specific technical detail. Mistake number 2, forgetting those boundary conditions and edge cases we just talked about. If your flowchart doesn't show what happens when the system hits an edge case, it's just incomplete. And mistake number 3, ignoring the context entirely. If the structured English is about a factory conveyor belt, your variables and logic must reflect that specific scenario, not some generic textbook example. You can easily outpace the competition by simply checking your edge cases and applying specific context.
0. That is exactly the number of process marks you need to leave on the table if you apply the method mark strategy correctly. In Cambridge Computer Science, getting the final answer is really only half the battle. The process matters immensely. It's almost funny how many students write down the right final answer, but get a terrible score because they acted like magicians hiding their tricks. You aren't a magician. You are an engineer. You need to show your work.
The examiners issue a massive alert on this. Candidates constantly lose marks simply by not showing their working. Executing your analysis with clear notation acts as your personal insurance policy. Even if a tiny calculation error means your final flowchart output is technically wrong, if you have clearly documented your step-by-step decomposition, your data selection, and your logical pathways, method marks will save your grade. Never erase your thought process. Let the examiner see the brilliant analytical depth you applied every step of the way. And guys, students who implement these computer science strategies see an average improvement of 2 grade boundaries, but only if they practice consistently with our weekly videos.
As we wrap up this explainer, I leave you with this final thought to challenge how you approach your next past paper question. Will it be a simple drawing or a masterclass in depth? The next time you are faced with a dense paragraph of structured English, don't panic like Sam or overcomplicate it like Alex. Fall back on the procedural framework. Deconstruct the context, check your boundary conditions, show every ounce of your working, and claim those method marks. Here's your final reminder. Subscribe to our YouTube channel Ace the Exams at @AceTheExams_IGCS to excel in your Cambridge examinations. Subscribe right now to @AceTheExams_IGCS and click that bell. Don't let another exam pass you by. Drop a comment below with your target grade for computer science and the biggest challenge you're facing. Our team responds to every comment. Like and share this video with a study partner. AC Exams, your Cambridge success starts here. Keep thinking algorithmically, and I'll see you next time.